All right, we are back with another weekly scores video, Sunday salvage, random junk, whatever. It's my favorite kind of video, and it seems like at least 100 of you don't hate it every week, so it's great. I got some scores this week. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm going to save the best for last. You want to hold on to the end because it's pretty tight. I had to drive an hour drive up to Camas, Washington to buy it. I spent a whole bunch of dough. I spent $5.50. He was very nice. He was happy to get rid of it. So that was cool. I also finished the little Eibach comp and dropped it off at Tomcat Bikes from DeSalle and Consignment. And while I was there, he had all these bike stands and a bunch of used tubes in the bin. He's like, please take this stuff. I've already got like 10 or 12 of these plastic ones. I got them from the bins. I used to buy these and use them at the shop. I really liked them because they're adjustable in the bottom. So you can see you can make them real narrow road width, wide mount width. They really do hold well. So, I mean, I got a bunch. I'm not even using them in storage. But I got some more. I'll take them to the swap meet. Because there is a swap meet coming up this Saturday, the 18th, at the Rose City Food Carts. If you're anywhere near Portland, you should come. I'm going to bring so much stuff. Like more stuff than some shops even have at all. Like, I'm going to bring some stuff. I got to get rid of some stuff. I'm going to go through my tools. I'm going to go through my parts. Anything that's not on eBay. I'll probably bring a lot of stuff that is on eBay, and I'll just try and remember, take it down in case it sells. Here's me. These two stands are adjustable. I think they get like a crank arm, or I think you get the hub. You put the rear hub on here. Yeah, because the back tire sits here, and then like your axle sits here for like your non-drive side. Okay, a couple of these. These are pretty nice and cool. Then I went to the old Sunday salvage sale. They had 2 giant bins full of free fenders, and everyone went to look at the crappy bikes. And I dug through the fenders and don't fall, don't fall. One early set of the Velo Orange single bolt fenders, 700 by, they're pretty narrow. I'm going to say probably 25, maybe 28 is the max. They're a little beat up, they're aluminum, but they're free, they're Velo Orange, and I have all the miscellaneous hardware. These stays are probably cut too short, they're all bent, but you can order the stays separately for, I think they're 12 or 15 bucks for the pair, which is outrageous, but probably go to the hardware store or online and find some little M5 aluminum tube like this. The straight bar, just bend it myself. I might look into doing that. That'd be a fun project. But also, I like ordering from Velo Orange. They're a good company. They carry lots of stuff, and they carry all the little hardware and bits for all their stuff, which is a lost art. Most companies just buy junk direct from China in a box, resell it to you in that same box, have no technicians, no expertise, no skill, no backup parts. Like, oh, you lost like a $2 proprietary bolt you can't get anywhere for any amount of reason? Cool, buy a whole new thing. You can't just buy a $2 bolt. Like, it's crazy. And then I also saw this old Specialized handlebar. It's cool. It's 80s. I don't know if it's bent or not. It's a 40. It's Specialized. It's like probably 26.0 bar clamps, like the dirt drop stems and stuff. Early Specialized stuff usually sells. I'm going to have to measure it, make sure it's not bent or anything. But that'll be great. And if not, if it is bent, I keep talking about making these tools. I'm going to make a tool. I'm going to take a bunch of bent bars and cut them off right here and down here, drill a hole, put them on a big keyring basically, and then make sure they're really clearly labeled 26.0, 26.4, 25.4, so I can test stems. You get stems all the time that aren't labeled, and sometimes you're like, oh, it's definitely 25.4 stem, and 25.4 is really loosey-goosey in it. You're like, I don't know. You got to find a 26.0 bar to slide it on and check. And definitely cannot fit a 26.0 bar, but it definitely seems crazy big on 25.4. Or you're like, it's crazy big on 25.4, and you slip on the 26.0 bar. You're like, oh, it's definitely 26.0. And I really thought it was 25.4. So I'm going to make a little gaugy checker doodad tool. And it's going to be cool. So also these are my absolute favorite. I used to sell the crap out of these at the shop. They were like 25 bucks a piece. Adjustable straps that can go onto any size seat post. And it clamps down, and they're just like a little paddle fender to keep your butt dry, keep you from the skunk stripe. I love them. I always grab them at swap meets when they're free piles, like whatever. And then I always give them away to some friend who needs one desperately, doesn't want to do real fenders. So I got 3 I'm very excited about. I think I've given all mine away. I like to use them for test rides too. It's great. People bring their bikes in, it's raining, you have to test ride them. They don't have fenders. And everyone's like, don't take them all. And I was like, dude, there's like 4 more, and then like 2 other brands, and then like another kit right here. So everyone ended up getting a few, and that's great. I also found this fork. It is a carbon fiber 1-inch threaded road fork, aluminum steer. It looks very good shape. It's definitely never been wrecked. I'm usually anti-carbon fiber, but it looks so nice. And it's a nice tall steerer. I think it says Bike Nash Bar or something on it. I'm sure this is like $200 new. I got it because maybe I'll use it on something even with anti-carbon. Maybe a friend will. I have a cool bike this might look great on. Steer is nice and tall. I don't know, I'm sure it's only for 723s though, so there's no tire clearance, I'm sure. And also the swap meet's coming up and take a bunch of stuff. I've seen guys used to pay real money for these. Guys used to be all about these even used. And I wasn't gonna get it, and at the end I walked up and okay, how much for this fork? I was hoping they'd talk me out of it. He's like, I don't know, $5. I got all mad. I was like, oh man, he's like, what is that too much for you? I'm always whining about how much stuff is. And I'm like, no, it's so little that I have to get it. If you would have said, $40 or maybe even $15, I'd have been like, yeah, nah. So I'll take the swap meet and see if anyone freaks out. Hopefully someone will. It's not that light. I mean, it's lighter than really heavy cheap forks, but it's not lighter than a good steel fork. It's not lighter than the fork on my own bike. But whatever, it's kind of cool. Saving this for later. A couple things for the end. I was just sort of bored. There wasn't a lot, I sort of glanced around. I found some good stuff. Some other people found some great stuff I would have got. I was looking at the tires, and there's definitely a couple of brand new tires in the pile. And I accidentally found there's a matching set of brand new tires in the pile. There's actually 3 of these. These are Pan Racer Race Type A all-around protection technology 723, made in Japan. I love Pan Racer. They do not make bad products. And they're brand new. They have the nipples, they have the ridge right down the middle. They are brand new tires. They have never seen 1 mile. And a 700/23. Every once in a while you get a bike that'll only fit that, so you have to use them. And I do have the Paramount build that everyone wants me to do coming up. Maybe I should start working on now. Maybe I'll start working on it after this video. I want to do the wheels and tires next, so maybe these will be for that. And they only charge $10 for brand new folding tires. There's usually never matches, and so I had to get them. Then here's all the stuff I dug through. That's later. This is a big mess. This is the last thing I found. This is cool. New in bag, 1995. These were $9.97 new. Blue anodized Avner bar ends. 90s mountain bike stuff is hot. It's coming back. Blue is a cool color. Paul makes some blue stuff. Every once in a while I put a bunch of these like weird bar ends on eBay, and barely ever anyone cares. Every once in a while someone will give me $15 for a set. These are brand new in the bag, in a cool color, and a cool brand. I'll ask 25 or 30 and see if it happens. And if not, maybe I'll use them on a build. I grabbed this and someone else asked if I grabbed it. I was like, yeah, you can have it if you want. I'm just going to put it on eBay. I was like, nah, I don't really care. But this is a new old stock. I'm also going to assume from the 90s. That's the problem with old stuff. It rarely has the date on it. People don't really start dating stuff until the 90s. Performance bike, Topo, power brake booster. So it's like a mountain bike thing that you bolt onto your canties, and it stiffens the fork and stiffens the canties and makes them less squealy and more stoppy. It's totally cool. It's totally cool. There's a couple other lightly used ones I was going to grab, and I think someone else did. I went through the chain rings, because it's one of my favorites, because chain rings are small and fun. People wear them out. They're very light, so I don't have to pay much. And they're really easy to store. I should put a shot of my chain ring collection in. They don't take up very much room at all. They're fun and easy to pack and ship. So I like them. And people always need them. And I got a bunch. So this is a matching set. I think it's probably 110 BCD. It's kind of more modern, probably medium-end Shimano. But it looks like a 50-34 combo. And the rear's recessed. I really like them when the bolts are countersunk. I hate that, just stamped chain rings with no countersunk. I feel like those things come loose, especially on like single speeds or fixed gears or riding hard. So this is a cool, compact cyclocrossy chain ring set. Cyclocross season, maybe someone will want them. I got a nice old silver one with weird teeth that at first I thought were worn out, but I think they're just cut weird. Oh, there's some weird shim or piece of aluminum pressed into a couple of them. I have no idea. But it's race face, 39 tooth to go with the 53, 910 speed. I'll have to clean these teeth and make sure they're not worn out. I don't think they are. I think they're just weird. But I had that outer new old stock 53 tooth race face. I think this is the matching chain ring for the inside, but it's definitely used. I don't know, maybe someone will care. 4-bolt Wolf Tooth 104 BCD 34 tooth drop stop chain ring. And it's got some wear on it, but I bet it's fine. Wolf Tooth. Wolf Tooth was like the hot thing in the late 90s, early 2000s, or maybe 2000 to mid 2000s. 104, 34 tooth, like all the cool mountain bike guys had these on their city bikes, which are basically rigid mountain bikes. What else? There's another new old stock thing. Stuff's in the way. I dug through the hubs twice. Everyone else dug through the hubs, and at the last second, I saw this poking up and I saw it, and I grabbed it. It is a Dior, nothing special. It's probably a $30 or $40 new hub, so I'll probably get 10 or 15 for it used. But it's a Dior center lock disc, rear hub, MT6000. I don't know, probably 10 speed. Quick release. Nothing special. Cool touring bike hub. Cool commuter hub. Whatever. $2 a pound. $3 or $4 tops. Here's a 3T ARX team stem. They had a bunch of stems, a bunch of this modern roadie stuff. This one really seemed really nice and light. Small hardware. It looks cool. Might be stainless. I want it to be Thai. Who knows? I grabbed it. I have way too many threadless stems. There's still a little bit of room in my bins. Maybe someone will want it. I don't know. Sometimes you put a stem on eBay for 15 or $30 and it sells instantly. And sometimes they sit for months or never sell. One more new old stock thing. I am pretty sure that this is bar tape. It's so weird. Use bar tape in like a skinny rectangular box. It's extra wide. I don't know why. 2.5 thick. 40 millimeter wide. Even in metric. Okay. But it's white, weird, Cyclepath bar tape. I don't know. Brand new bar tape. For free, basically. It doesn't weigh anything. Ooh, another front hub I grabbed. I think this is... Oh, it's an American Classic. Boy, I had the matching rear hub to this, and I sold it. I had it up for like $75 on eBay forever, and finally somebody offered me like $69, and I took it. It's an American Classic, ultra light front hub. The bearings definitely have a bunch of play and probably need to be replaced or serviced or something. The logo's a little bit scruffy and worn off, but it's mostly there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Is it 18? Oh, I don't know. American Classic's cool old light stuff, and some of the old guys who know what it is are into it. Here's one single Tektro RX4 brake lever. I had a pair of these sitting around forever. I lost the center bolt. All the rubber bands were snapped off of them. Finally went to the hardware store, got new rubber bands, came to put it all back together, put it up for sale. Could not find that center bolt anywhere. Grabbed this one for the part to make this other lever set complete. And then realized I was so sick of it. While cleaning the other day, I was so sick of stuff sitting around for months missing parts, and parts are coming up. I threw them in the recycling already. So now I have this single lever. Well, maybe we'll dig through recycling and see if I can find them. Maybe I'll just throw this for recycling too. What a lunatic. Found another stem because it was light. And I was hoping it was Thai. It's definitely not. It's definitely just like chromy plated steel. But it's got the Trek System 2 logo on it that they put on a bunch of actually pretty nice stuff. This thing is actually shockingly light for a steel stem. It's long. It's engineered threadless. This is good for cruiser bars. You know, it's got the bolt and it's proprietary, but it looks like you could probably just replace it with a old C-post binder bolt. But it's in pretty nice shape. It's not scruffy. Logos on both sides. You can run it positive rise or more roadie. Hopefully someone will care. They probably won't. Found one Weird Park patch kit. Looks brand new. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's good. Ooh. Here's another ring. I couldn't help myself. It is a race face drop stop ring. It looks like it has like nowhere. Cinch system, 28 tooth, RF direct mount, Race face. I have no idea if this is cool or everyone's going to want it, but it's race face. Someone out there is probably looking for this. I don't know. It's cool. Oh boy, I got so much weird stuff. Another single Cane Creek cross top lever, 31/8. Good for making fixies. I got these two very weird things. I don't recognize the brand. It's like a K and a shield. Oh, this one actually says something. K Edge. But I think these are clamp-on chain drop stoppers. I know some derailleurs make them for reasons because they can't make a derailleur that'll shift right without dropping the chain. These might also be really good for one-bys, keep your chain from dropping when you're slapping the back, hitting them bumps and stuff. I don't know, they don't weigh anything. They're like cool and machined, and so I got them. 34.9, you can do weird stuff with them too. Oh boy. I went back to my new favorite bin, which I think is they're lazy, we don't know where it goes. We throw everything in this one little red bin. So I got like half the stuff. One more brand new stainless shift cable. There was one galvanized brake cable. I did not grab it. I found this bell. It was super funny and cute. It's a big pink bell, the pink heart. It says Rascals on it, all misspelled. Oh, the world's ignorant. But as a joke, I picked it up. I'm like, on a scale from 0 to 100, how badly do I need this bell? And everyone's like, it's free. It doesn't weigh anything. You need it. I'm like, yep. So I got it. See if my roommate wants it or something. I don't know. It's gross. I dug through the tools because there's often new tools. I found two things. Here's a little chrome vanadium socket adapter. It's black, so it's for impact, I guess. But it's 3/8 to 1/4 inch. Why you'd ever use anything 1/4 inch on impact is insane. But, you know, the socket adapters are great, and I can barely ever find mine. And one little teeny tiny tube with 4 or 5 deburring bits. So these fit into a handle, and they can spin loose in the handle for, like, if you hacksaw through your seat post. It's got a bunch of burrs on the inside. You can stick this in and go, and it just scrapes around, and it'll just shave off all those burrs. I have a couple of these handles. Why not grab this whole thing of bits? Maybe it'll fit. Doesn't weigh anything. I think he ended up charging me $30 for everything. They usually do a couple bucks for tools and the $20 for tires, so he way undercharged me again, which is great. And I also grabbed all this, even though it's heavy. It is all what I believe to be brand new chains. Maybe some of it's very lightly used. I think maybe it's scraps or extra pieces from chains. Some tandem place donated a bunch of stuff, so a lot of tandems will use 2 chains or 1.25 chains. Or maybe their used chains have been through the parts washer. They don't look like it. They seem oily. But it might be scraps of chains. They're mostly PC830 SRAMs and Z, 7/8 speed chains, narrow. A lot of matching stuff. I bet I can put together a whole chain or two out of it. And since they undercharged me, it doesn't matter that I just got 5 pounds of probably recycling. But I used to save all my scraps. We did the 1/8 inch color chains for little kids' bikes. And they come in all different colors, and you'd always have 6 to 10 inches of extra chain for little kids' bikes. You can almost do 2 kids' bikes with them. And we'd save those and put all the scraps together and make rainbow chains for fun single speeds. And we did a lot of PC830s, like 8 speeds really common and the 6 speed were really common. So I'd save all of these for the same reason. And you'd end up with 2 complete halves the chain, and you can make yourself free chains for tune-ups and stuff pretty easy. Then I went over to the bike farm, and this was in the free box. And this is some weird thing that they made, and they used to have hats displayed on, and I think they made a newer, bigger one. And so they just put it in the free box. And the first thing I noticed is the color of this bar, and so I grabbed it and pulled it out and looked. And what do you know? Topo Titanium 250 grams. So it's a nice titanium bar. I'm sure it's narrow because it's old in the 90s. This thing's a Topo too from Performance, so it's a Performance titanium bar. So I need to check it and make sure it's not bent or warped or anything's overclamped and damaged it, but dude, titanium handlebars. These things were like, titanium handlebars are like $250, $300 brand new. So maybe this will be cool and someone will want it. Someone will give me 40 or 80 or $100 for it. Alright, throw it in the free box, guys. I then went and was just sort of perusing, and I didn't really want to dig that much. I didn't care. And I always look at the stems. And here's a Shorty Nanotechnomic. It's already been scuffed on a little bit. It's got the wrong bolt and nut on it with like a homemade spacer. Very wild. There's also a Nitto Young stem. I think the Young used the correct same bolt and nut as the Technomic, so I can put that over here. I might have a different nut somewhere. I try and save these when stems are really gross or whatever. You cannot take the SR, like the really common SR custom stems. They do not have the same size stuff. He charged me $8 for the Technomic, so he recognized it, and he charged me $4 for the other one. So I got $12 at Bike Farm for titanium handlebars and a couple stems. $30 at the old Community Cycling Center salvage sales for all the rest of this fun junk. Now, like I said, we're saving the best for last. So last week, this guy listed a frame jig and a giant lot of tubes on Facebook Marketplace for $650, which is, in my opinion, outrageously inexpensive. Most of those tubes are $30 to $50 a piece. The lug sets, the nicer ones, are $60, $70 a piece. A bunch of dropouts, a lot of those are $30, $40 a pair. I think there's definitely more than $600 for the tubes, but tubes are weird because people are picky about what tubes they want to use. But for like a beginner, or I mean, it's all NovaCycle stuff. I used a lot of their stuff. They went out of business recently, but I used a lot of their stuff and liked their stuff. It was light, it was straight, it was to size, it built easy, it rode nice. I didn't like their chain stays. I thought they were too flexy. I always went Columbus for my chain stays. Nice stuff, bigger stuff, oversized stuff. I really haven't even opened the bags and dug through it yet. It's all these bags of stuff. And this frame jig. You knew nothing about it. I've never seen one before. It looks nice. It's not like all quick releasey and pretty easy. It's not for production shop who's going to be tacking 10 bikes a day, and it's for a home builder who's going to spend a couple of months building one bike at a time. So it doesn't matter. It's a little bit slow to change the angles and put stuff on, but still a better design than my first jig. My first jig was Marinelli, and that thing was 400 pounds of over tightening, causing problems, nightmare, heavy stuff. You want to change the angle 1 degree and the whole thing would shift like a centimeter. It was a nightmare. I wasn't a big fan. I didn't like his fork jig either. It was even worse. I could not build a straight fork on that to save my life. But I did like his alignment tables. I really did. I like his Brazon jig, even though the little bushings that come out all the time for the Wild Boss. I just ended up raising them in. So I went and got it. It was a 50-minute drive up to Camas, Washington. So it was a lot. My sister's moved up kind of close to there, so I got to go visit her and hang out. Picked it up. He threw in this nice set of wheels, like a cheapy, like $100 brand new Shimano wheel set. They're brand new. He threw them in, and I could only get $550 out. He wanted $650, and he's like, "Oh yeah, no problem." He was going to try and talk me into taking his torches and stuff too, but he wanted a little extra for him, and they were small and missing stuff, and I wasn't into it. I didn't have enough money. He was a super nice guy. It did come with this complete set of instructions. No name, no info, no nothing. It's got a Yamaguchi frame on the front. I was trying to Google Yamaguchi jigs and frame jigs and bike, all the stuff. And I was like really looking through everything. And at the very end, there's a clue. There's an email address. I had to type it in like 10 times because his email is double bikes. And I hate the internet. It will not stop autocorrecting everything to double space bikes. I could not get this thing typed in. I got a bunch of emails kicked back. So I thought I had them and it switched them at the last second because Google doesn't just switch it when you're looking at it. It switches when you're not looking. eBay's gonna do that to me too. Like after you hit save, it changes stuff. Like, no, jerks. Like I finally emailed him and talked to him, and yeah, he was a Yamaguchi student and built some frames and then decided to make these jigs for a while. He said he sold them on eBay, and then it became cost prohibitive because he's having some machine shops make the parts and stuff. It became cost prohibitive for Purdue, and he gave up. Never sold that well, but he said they're pretty nice. They work really well, and it's all aluminum. This thing is probably like 100 pounds or less. Probably less. It was pretty easy to pick up and hold. Where like my old jag was like 300-400 pounds. It's like just like a lot. So I move this thing around. I'm excited. It's not very big, even though it looks big. It's not taking up a ton of space. I might keep it. I'm going to try and put it up for sale. I'm going to see if I can make some bucks still selling it for a pretty good deal and also make some dough. And if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And if not, I will sit on it, and maybe someday I will have a garage again and some time. And if I ever get the feeling I want to build a bike again, I'd love to build myself a custom Star Michael, city bike, because that's what I mostly do. Go to the grocery store with my nice little cruisery basket bike with my 650Bs and fenders and all the cool stuff, all the bells and whistles that I don't really need anymore because I don't commute, so I don't ride at night anymore. But yeah, big, beautiful jig. Still in the back of my car because I don't know what to do with it. I cleaned out under my bed, got a bunch of frames out from under there, I'm take to the swap meet. And that might go under my bed. I might move soon. I'm going to house sit for my friend Lindsay again, and I've already got like 10 bikes over there and my Serrata size cycle. So I might go over there and just kind of tuck it in and hide it. She doesn't notice it. And see what happens. So I got a lot of scores. 550 and 30 and 12. Okay. I filmed the rest of this video yesterday while sitting in my nice room in the nice rain with my dog barking through the door. And this morning I got up and I was like, I need to look at some more stuff. I didn't show enough of this tubes and jig. And then someone's comment on my last video when I was talking about getting this stuff, it's like, you need to go through the bag and show every tube and vlog. And I was like, I kind of do. So I'm gonna. It's either gonna bore the crap out of you or we're gonna be super exciting. Also, you can see my totally cool truck in the background. That's cool, I just noticed. My dog is here, she'll probably bark around the street. And I have one more thing to add to this weekly scores video. I just went to the Goodwill bins today to go buy some dog stuff, look at what they had, get some packing materials. Check this out. A very good condition Originate alloy front portour rack, messenger rack, pizza rack, whatever you want to call it. The adjustable stays, all the stays are here, the hardware's here, everything's here. This thing's tight. I love these. I've gotten like 4 or 5 racks there, and I got a couple of big, nice baskets there recently too. Got the jig sitting here, totally in the way. I haven't taken it out of my car because I'm going to go stash it at my friend Lindsay's house. I'm going there Wednesday morning, and it's Monday today. I'm like, I can live 2 more days. But I do want to go through some of this stuff. This is the bag of lugs. If you don't know what lugs are, they're a way of joining bicycle tubes together. So this is a lower head lug, so the down tube would come up into this, the head tube would come up in here, and you'd miter the 2 tubes so they fit perfectly around each other. And then you heat it up and you either use brass or silver. I usually do silver, and get the whole joint warm. Come in with the silver right here and hit the torch and pull the heat down, make the silver melt and flow in around the joint. You want to fill every single millimeter of the whole joint. You want to see the silver come out, and you want to see it come all the way up to the lug line, all the way around. You really want to add it from like 1 or 2 spots and really make sure it flows in and fills it. You want to just flow it in and pull it down, get a big blob down here and have none back up where you started. So this is a matching set. This looks like these are both lowers. Here's a seat lug, looks pretty matchy to this set. Here's another seat lug, looks like it probably matches the shorter point ones. Here is a top lug, 73.5. It's stamped right on there. So that's the angle of the head tube built in these lugs. If you want a totally flat top tube, 73.5, which is very aggressive. Most old road bikes are 73, stuff in the 90s start getting more aggressive with 74s. I like 72, I like even less, I like more relaxed touring bikes, but this is nice because it has a 1-inch top tube, which I like. I thought this stuff would all be oversized. Here is a stamped steel lug. These are quite a bit cheaper, 20 or 30 bucks a set. They usually need more work. They're usually a lot more practice bikes or cheapy, Taiwanese bikes. A lot of vintage stuff was all the stamped steel, and it's fine. The ears in the stamped steel, this one's reinforced, but the ears are usually just crappy stamped steel and hollow in there. It's not good. So I usually drill a hole all the way through and put a nice thick piece of like 3/8 rack tubing or something like that, and then really brass it in and really fill it up to try to fill this whole space as much as possible to make that ear strong. So that's a lower, that's an upper, and that's a seat lug. There's a whole lug set. Ooh, here's a cool one. I've used these on bikes in the past, except for I think this looks oversized. A little heart in the front, very short points. You gotta have real nice miters. This looks like it's a match for this set, maybe. So here's this short point seat lug and short point head lug. Also with the heart, little short points. And it also says 73.5. So more racy, more cyclocrossy. Definitely oversized. So this would probably be for 1 1/8" threadless. This might be 1 inch on the top tube. Maybe, oh well, weird. Maybe it's a 1 inch. Oh no. When you put a real 1 inch lug up, it slides right inside. So this is definitely oversized top tube, oversized head tube, possibly oversized down tube. They often are. Yeah, oversized down tube. So this is your standard oversized, I think. And here is one more set in a bag. Nova lugs, RDOS, SO. Their little way of measuring things. Oh, this is the same thing. Looks like another single oversized little heart lugs with the cool scroll. I mean, these are pretty. These really remind me of that 92 Paramount I have in there. Oh, the seat lug says 74 in the casting in here. And you can see on this lug, it is totally thick. This is a completely thick cast-in piece. So it's not going to bend or mangle your seat post binder bolt. And then after it's all brazed in, the tube's brazed in, you drill a hole in the tube and you file the slot all the way down so this can squeeze and pinch the seat tube. Most of these lugs have a horrible ring on the inside. You can see this lip. And that's so you cut your seat tube right to shape and you put it in here. I hate these things. They mess with me. They're for Taiwanese production places. I usually take a die grinder, a little sandpaper wheel, and come in here and just spend like 20 minutes grinding this lip all the way out so the tube can slide all the way through and up. So I don't have to worry about the height of the tube. And then it's easier to silver braze and do it from the bottom and braze it. You can watch the silver come out of the tube and then you can hacksaw it all off and file it all flush. And I can file this tip to a point, make them real sharp and cool looking. And then leave a little extra of the tube and really make a big mound on there and file it up. A real tapery, taller lug point look. I often would cut points off other lugs, just cut points off other tubes that are slightly oversized, and braze them on to make the lug points a lot longer. So you can do cool stuff. I especially do that on lugs like this that are all round at the bottom and don't have the point. I use vintage lugs like this, I'll make a nice point coming way down. Alright, so oh, this is not complete then. Oh yeah, it is. Okay. So we got one complete set of standard, two complete sets of standard, two complete sets of these oversized, and this one stamped steel sheet metal. That was totally fine. Lugs. That's pretty cool. We got this bag of dropouts. Let's see what's in here. Okay, so here's a weird drop I've never used before. It's a cast dropout, but it looks like it's got ISO disc tabs built into this side. And nothing on the other side. No eyelets, no nothing. I've never used this dropout before. It's a little old and rusty. It doesn't matter at all. You sand it all down and clean all the rust off before you do any brazing. I'd be a little worried about this, getting this thing mitered exactly perfect, keep the ISO tabs in the exact right spot. Oftentimes I like to put a wrench on my dropouts and mangle them a little bit, do weird stuff to make them match angles better, but guys with machines can miter crazy miters and stuff. I usually do a pretty straight miter and then bend the dropouts, or whatever. Oh, check this out. A second set of these bad boys. These ones are a lot cleaner. I think they're still the exact same ones. That's cool. ISO tabs built right in. I prefer my dropouts to have eyelets built on because you can always hacksaw and file off an eyelet, but brazing a little rack eyelet onto a dropout and then putting a big giant heavy rack on, I see a lot of eyelets break off that way. So if I'm going to do fenders on a dropout like this, I don't really recommend it for racks. Sometimes you do it, but definitely with fenders, I will take a half round file and file just a little half round in there so that the eyelet can just sit into that half round, just give it a little bit more purchase, and then really silver braze it and make sure the braze goes through, or brass braze it. Make sure it goes through, it has a little build up around the outsides. Give as much strength as you can. This is a more modern-y style dropout, so these are like what you see on all cities and stuff. Some 80s and 90s Bianchis and things like that. So like a hooded dropout, so you can just cut the tube flush and plug it right into these hoods. So if I'm doing a crazy miter into the tube for these dropouts to slip inside. So some guys like this easier, especially if you're doing production stuff, because you can just cut everything to size and just hammer it in and braze it. With this plug style, I usually like to take a drill bit that fits in here, loosey-goosey, and I'll wrap a couple of layers of silver or brass or whatever I'm going to use around the drill bit to make little rings or a little spring of silver, put it in there and stick the tube in. So the silver's already in there and it gets heated up. And the silver can melt and flow right through, and you can see it start to come out. And you can think, all right, there is tons of silver in there. Here is, I guess I should take them out of the bag. You never see anything in the bags. I don't want to be lazy, just hold the bags up, but it's hard to see. So these are a couple of different ISO disc brake tabs from Nova, just cheap whatevers. I used to stock basically every disc brake tab from every company ever, because nothing ever seemed like it was the right thing, and I wanted lots of options to hold stuff up. Oh, here's a set of hooded dropouts. These are a little different than those tube ones. These ones are just hooded, so this is the hood. They're just totally flat up here, so you just have to miter your tube to, concave and cup around this dropout wherever you want it, and then you have a lot of space on the top because of the hood, and you just Philip braze around it. You see, these have eyelets, and they have cool eyelets because they have little stands that stick up a little bit, so you have more room to get fender hardware and fat washers and whatever you want on here. I've never used these hooded style. It's a very 90s mountain bike thing, but they're cool. I'd use them on some weird bike or a weird project, or save a bike with a broken dropout. Here's another set of the exact same hooded ones. Here is a bag with some vintagey bits. So this is a vintage style road rear brake bridge. So you can see it's got the drilled all the way through, recessed here. It's a hollow tube to make it really light. So you can do recessed brake nuts on here for like road caliper style. Let's look at all this other cool stuff. So we got some little water bottle boss stars. So these are reinforcements for your water bottle. They really just look cool. Here's some blind water bottle bosses. So these aren't drilled all the way through. So they're called blind, so you can't get water in the holes. These usually come in stainless. These little stars usually come in stainless too. So you put the bottle boss under the star and then you silver braze it all on. There's also a couple of top tube cable guides, old school, and a couple of shift bosses, rolled down tube shifters. You just stick these on the side and braze them on. I've made all sorts of cool tools and jigs to hold these in plane and in phase with each other and hold them in place to braze them on. So that is cool. There's the bag. And then there is another bag with just another one of those rear recessed nut brake bridges. So a lot less braze-ons than I thought so far. This isn't really 5 bikes worth of stuff. This is more like 4.5 bikes worth of stuff. It's definitely a good start. You definitely need to buy some stuff depending on what you're looking for. If you want to build a bike. Oh boy, come on. Oh boy, come on. Let me have the stuff I want. Alright, this is a fun looking bag. So this bag is with a lot of front dropouts and a lot of fork crowns. You're doing so good so far. So here's a modern-y, sort of cyclocrossy road fork crown. See, it's that one big cast piece. It's got these hollow windows inside to make it lighter, so it's hollow from here to here. So you don't have to drill vent holes in your tubes. And it is made for 1.1/8" steer, and it looks like it's got the rake built in the crown. So this is built for like straight blades. So, modern, ugly style. It's not my thing. Here's something a little more traditional. I've used these a few times. They're a little bit narrower. They're good for touring bikes, 732s, older stuff. They're not hollow. These are solids. This weighs a lot more. And it's pretty skinny. It's made for 1-inch steer tube and regular style blades. So you have to rake the blades to get the amount of fork offset you want and the trail number you want to get it to ride the way you want. And then cut the blades totally flush and get them in here. And I usually on these heat around the bottom, get the blade in here, heat the blade a little bit, and then add like a lug. I'd add silver up here somewhere, let it soak down and pool, and just put a bunch of silver in until I know it's enough silver. And I see it pull around and fill this window up. I know it's in here and making a good contact. Little trickier. You gotta trust yourself. Here's another one of those oversized straight blade forks with the offset. Here's a little guy. I used one of these once on something. I think on my mom's bike. It's a little semi-sloping. It's not hollow. It's got the hearts on the inside. It's pretty skinny. She wanted 725s. I was trying to talk her into going 650Bs, and now she regrets it. I was like, gravel's what's coming. All your friends are going to only want to do gravel. She's like, no, no, no. It's has to have 725s. Now she doesn't ride it because she can't take it on gravel rides with her friends. But it's 1 inch. God, it's thick. It's got a dumb ring in it too. And I wouldn't grind this one out because it has these 4 recesses in there. And those are basically silver ports. You can slide the steer tube up in here, have these 4 holes to dump silver in and suck it down and suck it through. And then you watch it pour down through the brake hole, and you keep heating. I heat the steer tube and come up and heat this and heat the steer tube and heat this coming from the inside and heat the steer tube, and you can watch the silver come through those, and you can watch it make a little ring and whoop, fill up. And even I usually like to pull some through, like a little blob coming through, so I know it's really pulled. Fork crowns are tricky. Guys are bad at it. Guys get worse at it. They forget. You know, I switched my big torch once from doing these because I was overheating braze-ons and I was too lazy to keep switching my torch tips. I'm doing forks to like a smaller torch tip to do braze-ons and lugs, and forgot and wrecked like 3 crowns in a row. I'm like, I just forgot how to do crowns. My partner did the same thing and he forgot, and we wrecked a bunch of crowns, and then I went through and I did 3 or 4 more crowns trying to figure it out and wrecked them. I'm like, I can't pull, and then I realized, wait, I have a bigger torch tip that I use for crowns, so I just forgot. I get so lazy, I get used to using 1 torch tip and just like, I'll just kind of come in hot and fast and not overheated and do my braze-ons, and use my lug tip for braze-ons, use my lug tip for doing fork crowns. And I learned that, I really had to use my, really switch those tips. You really need to use a big tip to get the fork crowns down. Otherwise you get the flux hot and it burns, and then you can't pull silver through burnt flux. So you gotta come in hot and fast. The little tip just takes forever, and you can't get anything up to temperature, and you get one thing up and you try and go get the other thing, and then it cools down and it burns your flux, and it takes 40 minutes, you can't pull it. It should take like 7 to 12 minutes to do a fork crown. That's my advice, and I'm sticking to it. Okay. Oh, there's still some more crowns. Here's another traditional touring crown, 1 inch, same as the other one. And a 3rd crown. This one's modern road. It's also got the offset built into the crown, so it's not straight. It's like this. So this is also like a cyclocross crown. It's pretty narrow, maybe 32s in here, but it's also hollow, so it's really light, and it's for 1 inch. So this is pretty cool. I've used this on a track bike too. Traditionally, track bikes use round fork blades, and this takes the regular oval, but it is really light and kind of cool, and got the rake built into it. I don't know. Is that on a modern style track bike? Then we got dropouts. We got another disc tab. We got a few sets of dropouts in here. So we got like traditional road or track, a little pre-lug kind of built in with some holes. And this is also for cutting your blade totally flat and sticking it in. I just call this lazy man modern stuff. It's not my thing. These plug dropouts are pretty cool. So you also just cut your blades totally flat. And you have to get the exact right size blades. And you have to cut them at the right length to make the outside of the blade line up with the outside of the dropout. And then you just silver braze it on. I also use like a spring plug of silver inside the blade. And then it looks like you brazed it on and did a fancy miter and all that stuff. It's all built into the dropout. It's got single eyelets. I would totally use these on a road bike, or if I wanted to use a Portour or something, I'd flip them upside down, use the casting eyelet on the top for the rack, and then braze on a second little eyelet. Fenders, because fenders don't take too much for beating. Scout, where you at? Come on, yeah, you stay here. Good girl, you stay here. And then we got several more sets of these plug dropouts in a way smaller size, the matching, or another big fatty plug dropouts. The big fat ones are more likely for disc brake bikes. They take fatter fork blades or tandems. Skinny. You can see the difference between the skinny ones and the fat ones. It's a nice skinny little road tube and a much fatter tube, or the road fork legs are usually way longer, and you usually cut several inches off the top. These fat ones, you can cut several inches off the bottom to get them to line up right. Some more hooded ones. So, these are all boring dropouts, not the kind of things I usually use on our custom bikes, but I would use on random requests from customers and stuff. All these crowns back in. It's pretty beginner stuff. I ordered a lot of stuff. I don't know if I ever used any of it. Here's a big bag of bottom bracket shells. So there's like 3 kinds of bottom bracket shells. It's not like anything else. So this is a, this is a cast one, but it looks like a stamped steel one. Some of the old ones were stamped steel, like the lugs. This is so weird. I think maybe they used a stamped steel one in the casting process because it's got like a fake stamped steel line in it. Maybe it's extra thick and they machined it out, and that's why it looks like it's a cast one. I don't know, it's weird. Then there's your standard cast ones, which are this. Oh, this is the pointy one, so it matches those oversized pointy lug sets. So it's cast as one piece, and the threads are machined in, and the holes go all the way through, so you can get your tube all the way through and miter them just right. I see a lot of amateur guys poke their tubes all the way through and leave them that way, and they break them with the cutters and just dull and mangle your cutter. I like to get the tubes mitered just right, just like on a lug, so it comes right through the edge and never moves through. And that's hard to do, especially on chainstays. They'll creep all the time and get them on the jig and held in place and tacked. Think everything's right, and the jig's holding it in alignment, so it is right. And one of them will be back a millimeter, the other one will be forward 2 millimeters. Like, what? So a lot of guys will drill these. A lot of guys will drill all their joints and put a little teeny nail in that holds the tube to the lug. Sometimes you'll drill the lug first, then put the tube in, get it right where you want it, and put a Sharpie mark, then drill the tube, and you put the little nail in. And then you braze it, you basically braze the nail in as a plug, and then you have to file off the inside of the nail, cut off and file the outside. But a lot of guys do that. A lot of guys don't even use jigs. They use the pinning method on like an alignment table, really get everything aligned where they want it, and drill and pin. It takes longer, but you don't need a fancy jig. This is the third style. So this is just a tubular bottom bracket with all the vent holes drilled into it. So 2 for the chainstays, down or seat tube and down tube, and then it's threaded. One side has an extra lip on the thread, so you know which side it is. I believe this makes it the drive side or the non-drive. I don't remember. I have to double check. It's a millimeter longer, so you can measure off the other side, and then you can cut and face more on this side and know which side it is, and set your jig up. Blah blah blah. Oh well, the way yeah. So this has to be the drive side because this is the way this bottom bracket is drilled for the seat stays and the down tube and the seat tube. And these are made for TIG welding or for Phillip brazing, so you can just miter your tubes to the outside of this instead of the inside. So you have to change your drawing and change where you measure your tubes to cut them to see if it's going to fit the outside or it has to plug through and fit the inside. And I've used these a few times on bikes. I usually, on most bikes, including especially these, I'll do the seat tube brazed on here first. And I'll just barely braze it in the front where the down tube is going to be, and then you miter the down tube to fit around that, because you have to miter a whole bunch out of it to fit around the seat tube. The seat tube first, braze to this, and then I can face it and put it on the alignment table and make sure the seat tube's perfectly straight, so that way we have a square T. We got like a perfectly square seat tube to bottom bracket, and you measure everything up the bottom bracket so you know everything's square. You're measuring all the other tubes on this. You don't get a bike that's all wonky or warped, or the head tube and the seat tube are way out of plane. And so there's another Phillip braze one. Here is another. This is oversized. So for those oversized lugs, standard-y bottom brackety shell. Here's another one of the weird stamped steel ones that looks partly machined. Here is another one of the spiky dudes for the spiky lug sets, the oversized, so that's cool. And here is an old, kind of rusty Rode standard size one. So it's for round tubes instead of oval. You can see most of these are oval tubes. Oval gives you more clearance. Round makes a stiffer bike. They say I've built bikes with oval stays, and I felt like they were plenty stiff. And round gives you a lot less clearance. You see these round tubes, you know your bike's really going to be made for 723s unless you have really long stays. It's got a little built-in stiffener too, makes it real stiff. It's got some cool slots in the bottom, a cool relief window. Oh, and another one of the spiky brats. So we got 2 sets of these oversized, plus extras. And I've mixed and matched. I've used vintage lug sets with the Phillip braze bottom bracket as a way that I could bend my chain stays and miter them and dimple them and bend them and get them out as far as possible by a few extra millimeters of clearance on each side. So we'd use fat like 650B rando bikes and stuff. Like that was the way I found from Seaway in England. I found one weird bottom bracket shell that we ended up using on all of our bikes because it just cleared magically. All the angles and widths and everything were perfect for all the Klickitats and stuff. A lot of our customs, but for a while I had to do all Philip Braze bottom bracket shells to get the clearance I need to have fat tires and fenders and still have the chainstays not be like 2 miles long like a Rivendell, so it'll be real nice and short like a race bike. So that is the Ziploc bags. And sitting in here, you can see on this jig, this is where the bottom bracket clamps in. Seat tube. This holds the seat stays. You set the top tube across here, you set the head tube in here and get all your angles. And then back here is where you set your chain stays. And then back here is where you set your dropout. So it's got a 130 rear spacing dummy axle on the back. And then here's a 120 for doing track bikes, and then 135 in here as well. So you can do your 3 common quick release axle sizes. And that's cool. There are several tubes in here. See a couple of inch tubes, some definitely top tubes, some oversized tubes. Let's pull out a few examples. So here is a set of Nova CRS blah blah blah. These are skinny tubes with a single taper at the bottom. It's probably with the probably says 14 seat stay 1. This is a nice small elegant road seat stay with a single taper. So I do the taper down at the dropout on the top up on the side of the lug, and then usually cut these at an angle and braze on a little flat cap to make a little flat thing, or have a semi wrap around the lug, or they make plugs that have that sort of faked in. But they're heavy, they're heavier than little tubes, so I always think people are cheating when we use those plugs. We use the plugs on the Klickitats because they're like kind of more production bike. They could be a little cheaty. Here's a fatter set of the stays. So you can see these are also seat stays, but they're much bigger on the dropout end and a little bigger over here. I like skinny ones, they're fun. Oh, some of these tubes are labeled. Seat tube. Here is some fork blades. You can see what I was talking about. These ones aren't labeled. There's several sets in here. So here's Nova chromoly fork blades, 0.9. These ones could be different. These ones do look thicker. So fork blades, so they're oval at the top and they taper down to the bottom. You can do straight blade dudes on these and those vent crowns. Or I like to rake all my fork blades. I've made my own raking tools and bought raking tools, and road stuff has a little mini rake in the middle and comes out. I liked rando stuff out to the very bottom. They have like crazy hard extreme rakes. French flip they called it. It's very cool. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sets of these, unless I'm wrong in a few of these. Look how these could be fork blades. I need to stick them in a crown and see for sure, because they could also be chain stays. This could be fork blades, those big plugs. These might be their rakeable disc fork blades. Here's chain stays. The second I hold them up, you can tell. So they're both tapered. They both look kind of similar. The chain stays have a much pinchier oval, and they're a lot thinner of a tube. So they're a much narrower tube and a lot skinnier down here. And usually, yeah, a little bit longer. More tire clearance and stuff. You cut them and do what you want. So several sets of chain stays. Nova CX-SL. Oversized stay 0.4. I mean, they're really skinnies. Ooh, there's a set of round fork blades too, for that round crown. Ooh. Round, more taper, a lot. Most, look at all the round right into the bend. A lot of skinniness down here. That's hot. That's fun stuff. There's like 10 or 15 head tubes and steer tubes. This is the big fat head tube that the lugs will slide over, or you can braze it right onto your top tube if you want to do Philip brazing and stuff. Usually use a slightly thicker head tube for Philip brazing, so it's less likely to warp, more likely to machine well on the inside for your headset to press in. Sometimes people can overheat head tubes and they're tigging or Philip brazing and warp the crap out of them, and their headset won't go in. It's like all loosey-goosey and totally weird. There's also, so here's one marked seat tube. So So seat tubes are pretty light. They're pretty neat. They usually have the one painted end, and the painted end usually lets you know that it is the thick end. So the butts, so it's usually like 9.5 or 8.5. They're not double butted like most other tubes, because you're gonna have all the lug and all the stuff up here. So I know that there's, and you can get butt checkers and things to see, or you can look in there sometimes, and yeah, I can see it's right about there. So I Sharpie it right about where I think it is, so I know the butt's here, so I want to use as much of this as possible. So I just miter just this bottom to go into the lug. I think it's real thin. The rest of this is all 0.5 all the way up. So I can put the lug anywhere I want on here and cut it. It doesn't matter. It's all butted to here. So I use a long seat post. All this is normal. It's all straight. It's all for your 27.2 seat post. And then here's one that says double butted. The double butted also has one painted end and one clear end. And the painted end is also the same way. I think it usually means it's the... Some companies do it different. Some it means it is the short butt. Some means it is the long butt. So I'm looking to try and see if I can tell where the line is. Oh, I can't really tell on this one. Still hold them up to the light. You can see, sort of see a transition in here. It's probably the long butt. So the same thing, I want to... They used to make tubes in all different sizes with the butts, like A, B, and C length. Now they basically make a generic one where all the butts are kind of long. So you really want to trim it down, most of your trimming off the long butt and a little bit off the short butt to get like your length of seat tube or down tube or whatever. So you have as much thin tube as possible but still have a little bit of thickness on both ends. You don't want to end up using a whole bunch of thickness on one end and then cutting all the thickness off and have this tube be paper thin on the other end before you do brazing and stuff. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, at least 17 main tubes. You need 3 for every bike. And these are steerer tubes. So this is an 1 1/8" threadless steerer tube. These are inch threadless steerer tubes. It's kind of the same thing. It's real thick at the bottom. We're going to braze it into the fork crown. Then it has a butt in here somewhere, so it's a little thinner for the rest of it to save weight. It's not as important with 1 1/8" as it is with inch. Well, with inch it doesn't really matter either, except for inch used to break a lot. All the old 90s bikes made with inch threadless broke, and that's why they went to 1 1/8". So when I do inch threadless, I want to use as much of this thick, heavy part as possible. On threaded, for inch threaded, all of a sudden everything's off. It's important. You need enough threads to get your headset in. If you cut too low, all of a sudden your stem won't fit because its butt is thicker down here and then transitions to being thin and then has to be 22.2 on the inside to get a quill stem in. The 1 inch threadless is not the same as 1 inch threaded. These are thicker, so you still cannot get a quill stem in one of these. People are all the time like, can I just cut it down and add threads and put a quill stem? And you're like, no. 1, you'll never get the threads to start. Make a big giant mess, and 2, it's not machined out for a quill stem. So I mean, yes, according to a real machinist and pay thousands of dollars, but also, yeah, I wouldn't do it. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's a bunch more of those in there. There's a bunch of head tubes in there. There's a bunch of stuff, man. I used to order all this stuff. I think we only made 1 or 2 threadless custom bikes ever, like not very many, and I probably made another few dozen threadless forks for specific customers, you know, for their own personal bikes. We did a lot of custom forks. People wanted more trail, they wanted rack mounts, they wanted threadless, they wanted taller steers, they wanted whatever. Here's some oversized head tubes. Okay, so here you can tell. Nova head tube, 36 millimeter by 200, 37 by 201. So you can see this is a bigger head tube and it's much thicker. So this is for like fill-up brazing. So it's thicker so you can braze and not have it warp. And then you machine out the inside for your headset and press it anyways. This is thinner because you're going to have it in lugs, and it doesn't matter because the lug adds some extra weight around it to keep it from warping, and then you machine the inside anyways. So 36 versus 37, so it's an extra millimeter of outside diameter. That's probably to make sure you don't try and stick lugs on. You're like, oh, why doesn't this lug fit? No, that's an extra thick one for a filament. So that's cool. Lots of frame builder tricks like that you gotta learn. Yeah, I can't pull every single thing out. Pull some. Here's a 1-inch top tube, so I'm pull that out. It's 1 inch. There's thin wall, so we know it's a top tube. Nova CRTT 858 by 600, so it's a 60 centimeters long. So you couldn't make a 60. Well, you could make a 60 centimeter bike because the seat tube doesn't come through; it comes up. You miter it a little bit, here. So maybe 60 or 61 or 62 is probably the longest top you can make out of it. And it's 1 inch. It's got red paint on one end. It's like the other tubes to let you know that it's either the long or the short butt. I feel like Nova, they were trying to tell you it was the short butt, not to cut it. Yeah, this butt looks like it's like down to here. And this butt looks like it's like down to here. So you barely trim this miter at all to go against your top tube or seat tube, and then cut all the rest of your length out of this side to get it down to what length top tube you want. I love me a 1-inch top tube. Other tubes are trickier. On standard bikes, both the down tube and the seat tube are 28.6, so you can't mix and match them because the down tube's gonna have double butted, like a thick on each end, and the seat tube's only got the one butt, so it's for a 27.2 seat post all the way up. They did make some seat tubes for Philip brazing that are a weird double butt. So there's 28.6 at the bottom with a thick butt to go to the bottom bracket shell. When you get to the top to where you would have a seat lug but don't, it actually has an external butt, so it's fatter on the outside. So you have the extra thickness for brazing, but the inside's still the same, machined out for 27.2 seat post. So you gotta watch for those too. So a lot of guys would make their own fake seat lug sleeve to braze regular tubes that way until they started making them with the built-in thickness. So you see that on some old bikes. That makes it tricky to get seat collars and things, so a lot of guys just braze on a couple of binder bolts. But that is basically this score. The rack, all these tubes. There's definitely enough stuff here to build a few bikes without buying anything else except for hand files and a torch and silver flux. Well, and some braze-ons for sure. I mean, a track bike doesn't need any braze-ons, and some of the other bikes barely need any. So it's a real good start. You could build 7 or 8 bikes here. You only have to spend $40 or $50 on braze-on and a couple $100 on silver and flux and torches and gas and all that. So it is a cool score. You do kind of have to know what you're looking at. And Nova, I'd be happier selling to people if Nova wouldn't have just gone out of business. The website's down, so you can't see what any of their markings mean anymore. So you don't know what you're looking at. It's hard to tell what does NOV, CX, FB, OVL9 mean? It means Nova Cycles. It means like cyclocross, fork blades, oval, so round fork blades, and 0.9, which is the thickness of the blade up here. Because these blades, I saw a thing on these. Tubes are drawn different ways, but some tubes are drawn, they're like a flat piece of sheet metal. And there's a little hole with a big piece of steel, and the hole is ovaled out into this fork blade shape, and they have a draw, so they have a solid steel fork blade that's slightly undersized that they push in. So it pushes into that hole and pushes that sheet metal into this fork blade shape. So it'd have a dome over here, and then they slice the domes off. Old bottom bracket shells make that like die stamping or some craziness. There's a lot of old videos on YouTube and a lot of old frame builder manuals and books I found online and printed out and read. If you want to start messing with frame building, get the Paderek manual. Start reading that. It's the first one I read. My mentor, Joseph Ahern, who taught the frame building class I took at UBI back in 2010, he was Paderek's apprentice and helped make that book. And there's a lot of good info in there. The UBI manual is really good. I don't think you're allowed to have it or share it, but if someone asked me for a specific photocopy of a specific page, I might not have a problem getting it out. Or at least explaining the process. I saved mine. I used to reference it all the time. I'd write little notes and tricks and tips in there all the time on very specific stuff and very specific bikes. The Renee Hurst website from Compass Cycles, it's now Renee Hurst Cycles up in Seattle. They have a bunch of tech pages about how to use their specific stuff and tips and tricks for their tubes and racks and things, and those are great tricks. I mean, they'll give you the exact numbers you need for the rack mounts, but you should always still buy the rack first and hold it up and double check to make sure everything fits, you're doing it right. Guys are always out saying, hey, can I send you measurements so you can make me custom racks or forks? I'm like, no, it'll be wrong. You're not going to measure something the way I need. You're not going to be able to answer a question I have. Like, I've made people send me their frames and forks, or just mail me just their fork and tell me if their head too big or was. I built custom racks. I use their forks as jigs. I like bolt the rack stays in and miter them to fit, bolt it in, and braze them right on the fork. I even did that on a carbon fork. I did a carbon Niner fork. God, now I have to go dig through my Instagram 6 years ago to find a picture of this. A carbon Niner fork for a guy's custom handmade lug carbon calife. So they used like carbon tubes and then like wrapped the tubes and then filed them down to the shape of lugs. It's a big guy, it's probably like a 66 or 67 centimeter frame. And the Niner fork was the only thing you'd find with any brazons at all. And they were for like stuff things, sack, rack mounts, and some weird stuff. So I had to make a custom set of Randonneur handlebar bag and detachable lowriders to fit this weird fork and its limited number of brazons. So I had to make the rack all weird. So I made the rack go, it only had one brazon on the fork crown on the back side. So I made the rack come, and instead of going through the front side of the crown, it came down and under and up to the back. And on the bottom of the rack, I put in a brazon so we could mount a fender to it. It's the Niner fork, it's a mountain bike stuff. You want to do like a rando thing. So it was a really fun, weird, scary process because I'm torching it and brazing. The fork's like right here, and my brazons are right here. And I'm like, no, let's not get the fork hot. Let's not accidentally put the flame right on this carbon fork and make it pop or crack. But I did it. I didn't hit the paint, the jig, the brass at all, or the flame at all, and it got built. And he got the ugliest custom paint job I've ever seen that he's so happy and proud of. It's totally cool. I thought I just lost. I would have just clear coated that bike. That custom carbon, the custom lug wraps was such fine detail work. It was gorgeous. Like a nice clear coat would have looked amazing on that. And instead he painted it rainbow stripes, like a gay pride flag. And you just hid everything, these big chunks of thick color that went down with the stripes on the bike. It's very weird. It's cool. But that frame was the only carbon frame I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, this is cool. Except for those old vintage Specialized frames that have the aluminum lugs they put the carbon tubes into, which I have one under my bed in my size. I was thinking about doing a build on, but I'll probably try and sell it at the swap meet. I might do a build on it someday. We'll see. So that is his score, and I probably just added 44 minutes looking at these tubes and lugs. Good God, guys, the Saturday video is going to be long. But anyways, I know I said it in 2 other places in this video. That is this week's scores, and thanks for watching. I need some more brazons. I need to be able to afford a place with a garage so I can do brazons. I don't afford anything anymore. The price of rent has quadrupled in the last 10 years. Half of that's in the last 4 years. Houses used to be $1,600 and huge, now $4,000. I'm like, I'm not making any more money. I only got a real job, and it paid shit. It paid shit. The post office, real job, average salary. People used to raise families and kids and put their kids through college on one income with a housewife for decades on those post office jobs. And now when everything was said and done, after all your taxes and fees and union dues, it was $400 a week. $400 a week. It's insane. That is nothing. I mean, just doing eBay sales in the wintertime, I'm only making $150 to $300 a week. And I'm poor, so it's too poor. It's too poor to go kill yourself 40 hours a week, carrying 40 pounds of magazines and packages on your back and being sore all the time. My hips have never been right, and I got plantar fasciitis, and I got 2 kinds of fasciitis in both of my knees, and I got all this stuff. I'm doing 18 miles a day, walking up. I did 250 flights of stairs in the route they had me on for like a year. It was just brutal. All hills, all stairs, all packages, and all getting yelled at and not appreciated because you weren't as fast as guys were 4 years ago. And they had half the mail volume and not even a tenth of the packages. Like, packages wasted so much time. Well, they were not built for it. Just always getting harassed. Breaking your body and not making any money. I don't understand. You're netting $400 a week. you can't pay for a $1,600 studio apartment. That's crazy. It's 3 weeks of your pay. You definitely can't get a car, pay for your insurance and gas to get to work and back, pay for groceries. Like I don't understand. I don't understand people doing anything anymore, man. We all got to band together and start big weird bike hippie communes. Yeah, it only had like 2 barking fits at people trying to walk by, so not too bad. Hi. So, great video, extra long. I hope you weren't bored to tears. Thanks for watching.